Most people like to be warm, and in the winter, you want to think about hypothermia, or all year long, you should think about hypothermia if you're going outside. Some of you might not recreate outside, but you still can get hypothermia. So we should talk about prevention strategies beyond just a scarf. So the little list behind me, we're going to review it, and we're going to talk about some strategies. The first thing is know your environment. Sometimes we have the luxury of going to a place multiple times and we know what the weather may or may not be like. But all year long, you can think about hypothermia as a possibility. So we should be checking the weather for the time of the trip and the next 24 to 48 hours. We might not think that we're going to end up being out there for that long, but a day hike might turn into an overnight trip. Being prepared, this is something as checking the regulations, checking the conditions. In the winter, often we think about avalanche conditions if you're going into that area. And then with this, you also want to think about the 10 essentials. And the 10 essentials you should have on you, or you should have all of them within your group. Self-care is our next item, and self-care is really different for everyone. So the simple thing to think about is food and water, and making sure you are well fed and well hydrated. Some people are prone to blisters, and they need to stop and care for their blisters. And anything else that you regularly need to do when hiking, such as maybe delayer, would be something that's important for you to think about. And when you're with other people, you are a member of that group, so asking folks to stop so you can change mittens, put on another hat, grab a snack, is important, because often when you stop for something, someone else will also grab a snack or grab water also. Rain gear, all year long you should have snow gear or rain gear. Even if you're going out for a day hike, this is a good practice, because you never know what the weather's going to do, and even if it's not going to rain, that rain layer is really warm and it's a great wind barrier. So this is like all year long you should have rain gear. Okay. Staying dry, this is about pacing. We all hike at different rates, but really being able to pace yourself is really important. And if you're with others that have different paces, finding a pace that makes it so that everyone is kind of equally working, or one person's not profusely sweating. To go with staying dry, you might have to have layer breaks. Often some people get hotter, some people stay cold, and if you're hiking at that same pace, you might need to adjust your layers to match the specific group. When you're out by your own, you often just do what you need to maintain your warmth. Emergency food, typically this is something that you do not want to eat. Often I go to the grocery store and I go to the power bar section and I look for the most unhealthy or unattractive power bar that is not going to taste good. Because I know if I put a Snickers bar into my backpack as my emergency food, that's the first thing I'm going to eat. But if it's that gross power bar, I'm not going to go after that unless I'm really, really hungry. And look for something with high caloric intake. So something in the 400 to 600 calories if you're just grabbing a bar. And if you're going out with a group of people, everyone should have a bar. In the winter, often I bring extra food, and I bring a whole meal. And often it is, just a basic meal, something with a lot of fat and a lot of calories. So mac and cheese is one of my go-tos. It is one of my favorites, but I keep it in reserve in my bag as emergency food. Not tolerating wet, cold feet. This is about having extra socks, lots of socks, sacred socks, more socks, darn tough socks, smart wool socks, NG socks, any socks, just not cotton socks. Don't tolerate being cold. Stop, kind of make yourself warm, and maybe consider changing the plan. Maybe you had a plan to go out for this really big hike and a storm rolls in, and it is just as much fun to set up the tent and make a stone quinzhee where you are. So overall, prevention is way easier to think about than dealing with a problem outside. And often having a little checklist like this before you go outside is really important, and actually sticking to it. It is so easy not to bring the 10 essentials. It is so easy to not bring extra food because it's too heavy. We want folks to think about being prepared outside, and if the weather turns, that you can still have a successful outdoor trip and not get hypothermic. Because we do know that plenty of people in the winter don't make it in a wilderness situation because they've made a poor decision, or they've gotten off trail and they have been not had supplies with them, and they do succumb to hypothermia. So prevention is the key to being successful all year long.